Pride goes before destruction. Pharaoh had a defiant attitude to the Lord, where he thought he could resist and challenge him, as though he was one of superior strength. He looked upon the God of the Hebrews as inferior to himself by reason of their circumstance in comparison to his own. The pharaohs were considered as gods on earth, and supreme ruler, and also as intermediaries between the people and gods. They believed the magnificent splendor and prosperity of Egypt came from their way of polytheistic worship, which has appeared to have exceedingly blessed them with a mighty, prestigious, and affluent kingdom. They looked down on the Hebrew Israelites as a poor and enslaved people, a people enslaved into bitter bondage under their mastery, as they only worshipped one God, who appears to have no power to deliver them from their hand. Pharaoh's heart was lifted up against the Lord God Almighty, and had hardened his heart in pride, snaring his own conscience with a hot iron. He stubbornly refused to humble himself before God as the plagues came. For Pharaoh said, "Who is the Lord, that I should obey his voice to let Israel go? I know not the Lord, neither will I let Israel go." Exodus 5 verse 2. Consequently, 10 plagues fall on the Egyptians, a plague more severe than the one before. Each plague was of God's righteous indignation mixed with mercy. With each plague defied Egypt, and all of its false idols combined, defying the Pharaoh himself, directly confronting him through Moses with the matter, and giving him a chance to peacefully let God's people go. But with each plague, Pharaoh would harden his heart. After Pharaoh and his kingdom was brought to nothing, he still hardened his heart against God. Pharaoh hardened his heart after many reproofs of the Lord, and was suddenly destroyed beyond repair, without remedy, because of his stiff-neckedness, meeting his destruction as he attempted to cross the Red Sea with his army, as he pursued to slaughter God's people. Due to his pride, he ultimately ended his life in destruction, and brought down others who supported his decision, meeting the same fate. Pharaoh refused to acknowledge, let alone accept, that it was the God who created the heavens and earth who set him up to be a king before he could ever consider to let God's people go, giving him his position, power, and kingdom. Pharaoh wanted to take all the credit and glory unto himself, as an inheritance relative to his birthright, believing he was born royally divine than to believe he was anything less than that. He would rather choose destruction than to accept the fact of reality. He would rather live with the delusion of grandeur than to be believed that he was just as weak and vulnerable as any other man. And he would rather be intoxicated with his grandiosity to be sobered by God who was above him and the gods of Egypt. In conclusion, Pharaoh's pride went before his own destruction. He became an example, a biblical illustration of where pride leads to, and is a warning to every single one of us, who tend to look to our pride in what we've built and accomplished, lording it over others, and having the same defiant behavior towards God. Pride goes before destruction. Pharaoh had a defiant attitude to the Lord, where he thought he could